folks. Welcome to Studio 3A, a place where we ask hard questions. My name is Anna Bundy Hagler, and this is my wonderful co-host, Roy G. Atwood.
Wow, dropping the initial.
I know. I thought about going for the whole
Do
thing.
you know my middle name?
I do know your middle name, but I don't
know your middle name.
Consent for your middle name before I said it.
So
that's why I dropped the G.
You don't need my consent.
Okay, Roy G. Atwood, we're here talking at you live.
Uh-huh.
We're not live here. We're live in the comments.
They understand.
Yeah, thank God. Anyway, so if you're watching live, we'd love to let you know that you're here with us. I want to know what you ate today that gave you great joy.
Why?
I don't know. Just an icebreaker.
It's kind of
Get them
weird.
warmed up.
It's kind of weird.
Maybe I'm in a weird mood.
What feedback
know.
did we get from last episode?
Okay, well, first of all, apparently my mom was catching up. Hi, Joe Mama. And she watched the episode where we talked about our younger selves, and I joked and said I wouldn't tell her anything. She was dope about myself, my younger self, and she goes, I don't know what that means. And I said, I don't know that was for you.
I really wanted her to be like, you weren't dope. I was there.
She'd have to know what that meant. But
yeah.
She does watch faithfully.
Have you ever seen the movie Dope? It's a really good movie.
Who's in that?
I don't think anyone.
Nobody. It's a silent film?
There are people in the movie. I don't know if anyone famous is in the movie. It centers around like high schoolers that like accidentally have a bunch of drugs that they're trying to get rid of.
I haven't seen that movie. If it's not a rom-com.
I guess that's a good point.
Yeah. The other thing is that last week, our friend Landon was talking to us live. Landon, we hope you're here tonight. I should have screenshot what he said because he's just so insightful that he loved and also knew how to use the word serve.
It's because he's a homosexual.
Yes. But I was like, Landon, I'm so impressed. And then I was like, oh, he's queer. Yeah, that makes sense.
It comes second nature to us.
Yeah. And then also speaking of our episode last week, I saw a TikTok, but it's not a video. It's like those picture TikToks with carousels.
Yeah.
With these photos. And I thought of last week's episode. Things my dog ate and survived. This photo pop up.
She ate that photo.
So I learned serve and ate.
Yeah. When did you learn ate?
I guess I knew 8, but I didn't know 8 until I saw this.
Until you saw that, and you were like, that's kind of like serving.
I'm so glad Roy's keeping me hip.
Exactly.
Is that like a Gen Z thing?
I don't know. Gen Z is just, they generally pick up on things.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about different cultures. Speaking of Gen Z.
I'm so glad we went there.
Speaking of Gen Z, we're talking about different cultures today.
Yes.
We don't understand Gen Z.
No, or Gen Alpha. My friend was talking about on Instagram stories what her kid was saying when she got home. I can't even remember the phrases because they didn't make sense.
I don't want the world to end, but I think we're done after Gen Z. we don't need
that is not an official statement from this podcast.
More generations.
We are individual personalities with individual thoughts and opinions, and that is not a statement. We're all behind.
Well, if you just think about it. Aren't you just I can't, with more generations, I can't even, Gen Z, I don't even understand. How am I supposed to understand the ones after that?
We have to move on. I would like to admit something.
Yes.
So I've been out of school since we went from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, right? We grew up, celebrating is the wrong word, but I mean, I guess we kind of did celebrate Columbus Day. And so I had to Google what Indigenous Peoples Day is and who it includes.
Yeah, well, the idea was that because some people still do celebrate Columbus Day, particularly in the Italian American community. New York, there's a lot of Italian Americans that still very identify with Columbus.
Yes.
There's a statue of Columbus that people don't want taken down and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that we have a holiday devoted to somebody who traveled across the world and met people who already lived there and then instigated the genocide of those people, generally bad idea. Let's not do that. So what if we flip it around and talk about the, valuable cultural insights and awesomeness that Indigenous people bring to America and to the whole world.
Right. And Indigenous people include We're talking like Native Americans.
Native Americans, but people who are native to any
any region.
area. Yeah.
Yes, and that's as someone who like they made the shift as in my adult life. I missed it, and that's why I had to Google it. And then I was like, oh, this is so great because we like really do get to dive into like different cultures.
I appreciate your inquisitiveness and your eagerness and curiosity because a lot of times people are like, something changed, that's dumb.
Listen,
like,
I don't stand by the Pluto not being a planet change.
It's not a planet. There's like, if Pluto is a planet, then there are a lot of other things that have to be planets.
Okay, this is not a space podcast either. Maybe we should add that as a topic. If you're watching right now and you want us to talk about space.
Crickets. No one wants to hear us talk about space.
Nobody will.
So I experienced a lot of different cultures this week.
Okay,
this
tell
is
me
not
more.
to do with Indigenous People Day, which was yesterday.
This is just an example of different cultures within a system.
Yes.
Okay.
I might not be using that phrase correctly.
At large.
So I went to 3 different concerts this week. One was Lawrence, one was Charlie XCX, and one was Meghan Trainor. Completely different audience.
Oh my gosh, I almost went to the Meghan Trainor conference.
It's a concert.
Wow.
The Meghan Trainor audience was 1/3 under the age of 15. Did not realize that she was that popular among middle school girls.
I didn't either. I just finished reading her book.
No, a lot of middle school girls were there. There was a family sitting next to us. We were on the lawn, and the youngest girl was like crawling all over the place. Her mom could not keep her still. And then literally 20 minutes into the concert, she's like in her mom's arms falling asleep. And it's like, this was what you were here for. And they like left like 30 minutes. And
I mean, that makes sense because I assumed there was an opener and they probably through the whole thing.
She went on at 8:30, I think.
For her younger crowd, that's kind of late.
Or she went
Also
on at 8.
Crowd,
she went on at 8.
It's kind of late.
She went on at 8, and it was by the time she finished at 9:30, it was kind of clearing out because it was past half of her audience's bedtime.
Stop. Okay, so that was Meghan Trainor.
Charlie XCX.
Is she the one that only sings in auto-tune?
She doesn't only sing in auto-tune, but it's very like club music, and Troye Sivan is,
Oh, that's the Brat
similar.
girl.
Yes.
Not
Brat.
to be confused with Brats.
No, it's very different.
I think I'm the only one who was confused, other than my husband.
Yeah. Okay.
He thought it was Brat Summer.
Do you know what poppers are? I'm so scared and honored to be talking about this on the podcast.
Should we be talking about it?
Yes. I mean, it's not bad.
Okay. Do you just had a look on your face?
But you don't know what poppers are?
No.
So
What?
poppers are like a drug that I've never done, but it's a very like low key drug.
You haven't admitted it?
No, I would have admitted it. And I think it's VCR cleaner basically, but it's like in a little bottle and you huff it. And it like
that can't be good for you.
Oh no, instant brain cancer. I mean, like not instant, but like you're definitely getting brain cancer later in your life. That's why I've never done it. But
I'm so concerned.
That's the reason why I've never done it, and because also it makes you like it gives you like a rush of euphoria. I just also don't do drugs. I've never done drugs besides like pot.
So what does that have to do with Charlie XCX?
It's very popular among the gays and in the club culture. So we literally saw people doing poppers like in the row behind us at the concert, which if someone at Meghan Trainor had done poppers, that would have been the weirdest thing in the world. But literally half a week later, we're like, yeah, poppers. Troye Sivan also has a song called Rush, which is about poppers.
Okay, I have a lot of questions.
It's like I Feel the Rush is about doing poppers.
Okay, I'm going to have to pick your brain about this off camera only because we have to keep going.
And you know the album cover? Have you seen his album cover where he's like, his head is Troye Sivan.
Oh, yeah.
Where his head is like between a guy's legs. But his
Nope, haven't seen that one. Just kidding.
Well, apparently he had done poppers like right before the album cover to have like the real full experience. I'm so glad that you're learning about this. Now all of the people who watch our show, including our parents, will know all about poppers.
I literally
Yes.
Remember when you were like, "Oh, I love this show. It like shows all my flaws," you know, and you were joking.
I don't have any flaws about this. I
Yeah,
haven't done
I
poppers.
feel like
I just know about them.
But I feel like season 2 is like Anna knows nothing.
Correct.
Let's educate her.
Yes. Season 2, the theme is Anna knows nothing about different cultures, and we're educating her. Today, we're talking about different cultures, and now she knows about gay culture.
Okay,
and
so
people doing
very
poppers.
quickly, what was your last concert?
The
Like,
Lawrence concert, it was mostly straight people who were just like
vibing.
Yeah.
Not on boppers, just chill vibes.
It starts with a P. The word popper starts with a P. It's not called boppers. It's not something you do with a twisted or a...
This might be the most unhinged episode
It's called
we've ever
poppers. Not boppers. You wanted to talk about indigenous people. Let's transition.
Yes, I would like to bring us back to our theme. Mostly because
You need to stop embarrassing yourself. Your glasses are literally fogging up right now. Okay, I'll transition for her. So Anna follows these people called the Outdoor Boys, which is a guy and his sons, and they do cool things.
they do cool things like out in nature.
Out in nature,
Yes.
and they visited some indigenous people in this video.
Step it, yeah? Just around there. Put all your weight on it. Yeah. Nice. Good job. Two hands. Let's go.
You got it. In here. Oh. Yes.
Is it good?
That's this
It's a wild hibiscus. And then you start slow.
Yeah, not obliterate your...
yeah, let Dad do it. I think
You got it. You got it.
Dad, you did it.
Yeah, you
Oh man,
did
Dad's
it.
turning red.
Your first try.
Oh,
Just
not
try
too
it.
bad. Yeah, I got a little ember down there and there. The hard part is getting the wood ready. That's the hard part. I did the easy part.
Dad, you look like you've done this a million times. To be honest.
This part I've done.
Something.
Yeah, they slow it down.
Okay, now bring it down on the side.
There you go. Watch your hand. Watch your hand. There you go.
Bring it down.
Yeah.
Okay, one, I love Luke from Outdoor Boys so much.
Why?
Because he's just like so pure.
Mm-hmm.
He like his family travels together a lot. He goes like weeks, like takes week trips into like Alaska's like wilderness and like videos it. Like that's why he's really popular right now. Like 1 million or so people. 10 million views, 10 million subscribers, which is like kind of a large amount. Kyler and I watch it every Saturday. We call them our Saturday morning cartoons because we just like love his vibe. So we watched this one. They went to Hawaii. I don't, people post things after they record it, so I don't know when. But he like really they got to go to the Polynesian Cultural Center. And like, I thought that was the coolest thing. I didn't even know that existed. And so with Indigenous Peoples Day coming up, that's where my brain went.
What was interesting when you brought this up when we were planning for this episode is that I've been to the Polynesian Cultural
I
Center
know.
in Hawaii.
Yes.
I think it was relatively new when I went. It was over 10 years ago. And our producer saying that I got this shirt from the Polynesian Cultural Center in Hawaii. Yeah, I'd accidentally dressed up for this episode.
For real.
What's very interesting about that center is that it's created by the Mormon Church. And it's basically like a fundraiser for the Mormon Church.
Which is so interesting. And I think that's where we can talk about how like Indigenous Peoples Day can get tricky.
Yes.
Because how do we both honor other people's cultures and make sure that we're not capitalizing on that?
So it would be, I think, 100% good if they were like, the Mormon Church was like, we're going to start a Polynesian Cultural Center and all of the proceeds will go to...
Back to indigenous people
and those people
Absolutely.
who are living in those cultures. They haven't done that. We don't know, like, the Mormon Church isn't a place that traditionally opens up its books very much. So it's not like at 100% good because we assume some of it's just going to fund the church itself and people who are not indigenous. But they could have done anything to like, let's create a fundraising mechanism in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing something that's celebrating the local culture, they're employing, a lot of the people are students at the local college who they're employing, and we hope they're paying them well. Well, that's another thing we don't know, but the fact that they're actually celebrating the local culture, and I learned things when I went there.
I hope to learn things when I go there.
It's actually cool when how they set it up. It's like there's like a little river, and then
each stop represents different islands.
There are different huts. There are different islands, and then it shows kind of the diversity even within that community.
That's so cool. Okay, that was a lot. We covered a lot of culture.
A lot of culture in that.
Let's take a break.
So much.
And then reset for your talk.
Yeah. So our break is a dog going. Oh
my gosh.
Look at how cute it is. So
I cannot get over this.
it's so cute. I just want to eat the corn. I'll be very polite when I eat it. Okay, so that video, if anyone doesn't like chewing sounds, might have made them uncomfortable.
We need a warning for this whole episode.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the importance of being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Segue. As humans, we're evolutionarily, that's a hard word, evolutionarily designed to keep ourselves safe, meaning we feel more at ease in familiar situations and around people who are similar to us. The flip side is that we can often feel uncomfortable around people who are different from us. And here's an example from my own life. When I lived in New York City, I lived on the Upper East Side, which is a predominantly white neighborhood. And SNL even made a video with Leslie Jones about how white it is.
In my life, I've lived in some of the hardest neighborhoods in America. Compton, Spanish Harlem, Bed-Stuy. But the neighborhood where I live now gets no love. Y'all say it's boring, y'all say it's homogenous, but y'all don't know it like I do. This is the Upper East Side, bitches. It's the U.E.S. where the players play. White men and khakis line up in fairway. I used to be basic, but that was long ago. Now I'm moving on up like the Jefferson Show. You think you gotta...
So yeah, that was just the video goes on longer, but that's an example of where I lived. Later in the video, they go to a German bakery that's literally a block from my apartment, and it's where I would go whenever I wanted to treat myself to a little pastry in the morning. So that's 100% exactly where I lived. However, when Jacob and I moved in together, we moved 50 blocks north to a new building in East Harlem, or Spanish Harlem, where she talked about in the video. And white people were definitely the minority in where we lived and our building and the blocks around it. It was most noticeable every day at our subway stop. And generally there'd be about 200 or 300 people coming and going, but I could usually count the number of white people on one hand. And to be honest, it felt a little uncomfortable because I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb, like everyone was looking at me and I was intruding in some place that I wasn't supposed to be. Of course, this was a unique experience for me because as a white person, I'm usually in rooms with lots of other white people. I'm used to feeling comfortable because I'm used to being in places where most people are similar to me. I'd like to believe then that my daily walks through the 125th and Lex station made me a better person by making me more attuned to the experiences of people of color who are surrounded by people of a different race a lot more often than I am. Honestly, it's part of what I like about being gay because otherwise I'd be a straight white man. And to be frank, straight white men almost never have to experience being a little uncomfortable in a space because they're usually around people like them. But being a gay person has it forces me to navigate a heteronormative world, so I can imagine what it might be like to experience the world as a woman or as a person of color. Of course, even though I can imagine it, I don't really know what it's like without listening to people who are different than me and accepting that they are the experts on what it feels like to live in their shoes. Yet, when we put ourselves in situations that feel a little uncomfortable because we're not around people who are like us, we expand our ability to be empathetic and understanding. Ultimately, the world is a better place when we celebrate and embrace each other's diversity, because life would be so boring if we were all the same.
Oh, that's so good. This kind of goes with like the theme. Y'all, I mean, unless you're Anna and Roy super fans, you probably don't watch all of the content we put out for the church, but Roy and I do a lot together. And we've been talking a lot about how it's important to be in rooms with people who think differently than you.
Yes.
And this, I think, is like the crux of like what makes humanity good. Celebrating other cultures, being uncomfortable for a little bit, asking really curious, honest, transparent questions. Like, I think brings the best of humanity together.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw earlier in this episode, I like to joke that the Venn diagrams of our social media just like tiny bit overlap. Like the only overlap is like Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes.
And I've learned from like just being around you, and because I haven't been around people who grew up in rural settings very often, and you still have a lot of family who live in rural settings.
Yeah.
And so even though we're both white Christians who live in Dallas
Right.
and are in our 20s and 30s.
I didn't know where you were going. Yes,
I wanted to
one
say
of us
20s
is in
and then I
our 30s.
realized that wasn't true. Like, even though might be similar at first glance, we came from such different places that I still learn from you.
Yeah, I would like for this week's episode to be a reminder to our friends who are watching to be around people who think differently, who maybe live differently than them. And if you are, your homework is to drop in the comments an interaction you had with someone who thinks, lives, experiences life differently than you.
And also, just because you've learned one thing from that person, don't assume that you've learned everything about what it is to live and be that person. Like I said, like being gay shows me a little bit about what it might be like to live as a woman, but I don't. I'm a man. I don't know what it's like to live as a woman. But you have your mind open and never think that you've gotten to where you need to go in terms of curiosity and because to be inclusive, I don't know, the world's a better place.
Yeah.
And
So
openness.
Stay curious.
Stay curious, friends. Stay curious, San Diego.
That's what I was going to say.
I read your mind there. See, our culture crossed over a little bit on that.